r/AskReddit. Redditors who've been fired from a job. Why did you get fired? I was the first man ever hired for the front desk at veterinary hospital. The weirdo owner told me he thought the first man he hired for that position would be gay. 2 weeks later I was fired for a bullshit excuse. On the way out the door I told him I hope his fantasy of hiring a gay receptionist comes true someday. He turned red and mumbled something about that not being the reason I was fired. Edit. Tie for the gold. It's not THST you were fired for not being gay. It's just that you're not good looking enough for him. They hired me hoping that I would give them contacts and info from my previous company, which was in the same industry in another state. The contacts and info wouldn't transfer well, and my actual position had nothing to do with the info they were hoping to get. So I never gave it. They fired me when they realized I was doing the job they hired me for. Not spilling my industry knowledge. Haha. The last 2 places I've worked have barred me from doing that in my contract. I'd get the hit sued out of me if I helped my new employer poach clients. These were both more mom and pop companies in the legal service industry. So no contracts involved. And since they are in 2 different states and most law firms operating solely within their state as they do, they didn't want to poach clients. They were after other vendors in related service areas, like contractors looking for plumbers, rather than clients. In my current industry, I'm 100% in danger of being sued if I were to poach clients. Union factory. We got 6 days off per year. No more and no less, no matter your seniority. I'd already used 6 and was about a week away from the end of my year when it would refresh the days. Wife had a miscarriage. We didn't know that's what it was at the time. So we ended up in the fired for missing a day when I technically had none left. If your union can't get you more than 6 days, that's a pretty hit union. Yeah. What a day negotiate up from? Mondays? Years ago, I was working as a server for a chain restaurant, and I had only been working there for 2 weeks. The hostess and another server dealt with a table that dined and dashed. The hostess tried to stop them, but, rightfully, wasn't willing to risk her safety over a $65 check. I had absolutely nothing to do with the incident, but for some reason, I was terminated 30 minutes after it happened. The manager bluntly explained it as, last one hired, first one fired. I cried into the floor manager's shoulder because I could not understand what I had done wrong. But I got my revenge. It turned out that we had been shopped by a secret shopper that night after I had been fired. But I had been told to finish my shift. The week before, the same manager who fired me had promised $500 cash to any server who scored a 100 on a secret shopper, in addition to the $100 bonus the chain paid. They had never, in 17 years, scored a 100, and the manager desperately wanted it. Now, if I'm correct about who the secret shopper table was, they had seen me crying into my manager's shoulder, wipe my tears, and continue serving them like nothing was wrong. If it was them, I'm 100% sure they gave me a 100 out of nothing but sympathy. The manager who fired me called me repeatedly for damn near a month when he received the score. I only answered once and politely told him he could mail me the $500 he owed me. To his credit, he did. Last one hired, first one fired. That, right there, is the biggest load of bullshit I've heard in years. I have never heard that phrase prior to, or at any point after, that incident in my entire life. I got the flu and my sales numbers dropped as a result. I feel like this happened in the US. Worked at a country club. Was working a wedding and the groom's buddies were all out on the back balcony looking over the golf course and pounding those little shooters. I came over with a tray of apps and they were like, hey man, leave those apps here and pound some shots with us. Manager was looking out the window mayo. Edit. Best part was, since I got fired mid-shift, I was invited to stay at the wedding by the groom and proceeded to get obliterated with his boys. Hey, what happened to the customer is always right. Customer is always right. This wrote a letter to the board laying out some facts about mismanagement and unprofessional, borderline illegal stuff going on, negative impacts these were having on company performance, etc. Got let go the following week. Went through a harrowing 6 months of unemployment. Trying to keep paying for the house and keeping my family going. Turned out that during that time, half the board got replaced. Some upper management positions got replaced. And some people got a hold of my letter. Got a call asking me to come back. Got a new position that paid triple what I made before. And have been able to make some positive changes. Now I'm probably going to end up being the next CFO. Just have to get through my damn CPA tests lol. I wouldn't do it again. Looking back, it was pretty naive and very risky. But I'm very lucky that in my case it came out to a good outcome in the end. Wow, that's amazing. Things hardly ever turn out this well for whistleblowers. Good job. Is letting the higher ups in your own organization know about malpractice whistleblowing? I thought it was when you let the world know about it that it was whistleblowing. I took too many cigarette breaks. Most people took a hitload of smoke breaks though, as it was a ducking bar. I was pissed because nobody ever once itched at me for anything. Anyway, I took revenge and quit smoking. That'll show him. When they die of lung cancer and he is still alive, he can go smoke a cigarette over their grave. Insubordination. I called my team leader a cretin after she called me worthless. Guess which one of those went in the nightly report? I was fired for insubordination when I questioned a discrepancy in my pay. I'm a teacher. Thought I'd work summer camp at the Y 1 year to earn a little extra money. I was told $10 hour and that my kid's weekly fee would be free if she was in my group. Not only did they proceed to pay me minimum wage, they also tried to charge me $100 a week so that I could watch my own daughter during the hours I worked. I questioned it the day my paycheck came out, Friday. I questioned it Monday. I questioned it Tuesday. I was fired Wednesday. Duck the YMCA. That's not insubordination. That's retaliation for objecting to wage theft. I worked at a music store in 2012. And they still took carbon copies of credit card transactions over $100 for some reason. I was never trained to do that. So the first time someone bought over $100 worth of CDs, of course I didn't take a carbon copy of the credit card. I had never even heard of taking carbon copies of credit cards. So my manager called me in and told me the store policy about taking carbon copies of credit cards. And that since I failed to do so, that was my first and final warning. The next time, I would be fired. I was astonished because I had never been trained on that. But whatever. Company policy, I guess. So then a few weeks later, I had another customer who bought over $100 worth of stuff and wanted to use a credit card. Ding, light bulb goes off. So I call over my assistant manager and asked him, can you show me how to do a carbon copy of this credit card so that I know how to do it in the future? He says sure. Does the carbon copy. And we go on with our day. Manager calls me in again. And this time my assistant manager was there with her. She shows me the carbon copy of the credit card that I messed up. And the credit card was upside down. So none of the credit card information was copied. I pointed to my assistant manager and said, I didn't do that. He did that. He was showing me how to do a carbon copy because I was never trained on it. Manager and assistant manager says that it doesn't matter because I was the cashier that was on duty. So I was responsible for making sure it was done correctly. So they fired me. TL, doctor, was never trained on how to do something. I asked my assistant manager to train me. He did it wrong. And I got fired for his mistake. Better sooner than later. I know it doesn't put food on the table. But if they are willing to do that to you over something so stupid, it's just a matter of time before they run you out the door over something else. It was fine. I was annoyed when it happened. But ultimately, it was just a part-time job I had in college. I wasn't going to let a few idiots ruin my day. A few weeks after I was fired, I found an internship across the country that pertained to my field of study and did that instead. Way better opportunity than a hitty music store with hitty managers. Long time ago, I was the only lifeguard at a pool. I saw storm clouds brewing in the sky. So I cleared the pool, closed it down, and started packing everything away. Big gust of wind catches the parasol attached to a big glass table. The table shatters and flies into the pool. At this point, there's lightning. So I decide that I'm not going into the pool during the storm to fish out the glass. I finish packing everything, close up, and head home. I go in early, on my day off, to clean the pool out. Even though at this point it's not my job. Pool manager is there, and he just lays into me, telling me that I'm the stupidest person he's ever met. He said he could see the clouds for 45 minutes before the wind picked up. I had about 5 minutes between when the clouds appeared and when the table got smashed. Goes on and on about how I should have known better and fired me on the spot. Sounds like he should have done something about it. Or told someone to do something about it. You know. Like what a manager is supposed to do. Some managers work. Other managers don't seem to think that do something is part of being a manager. Because it's actual work rather than managing. I called out sick one time. He tried to illegally withhold my paycheck too. Luckily I wasn't there for long. And I knew he would fire me. Considering he'd been the manager for 6 months and bragged on my first day how he'd already fired a crews of people. Glad I didn't stick around. I want a job that respects my ducking health. Thank you very much. It was illegal for him to fire me too. Because it's illegal to make a sick person work in the food industry. But that's not a battle I wanted to pick. It was only a side job for my other one. That manager sounds like a delightful person. It's like Karen got a management job. I worked on a golf course and got fired for doing donuts on the greens. You are not supposed to stick your peen in the warm donuts on the green. Do it on the fairway like a civilized human being. That's rough. When I was in undergrad, I briefly worked at the Missionary Training Center for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons. My boss was a hard stickler for the rules and didn't like that one. I wore one ring on each hand too. My sideburns were slightly too long. 3. My shoes weren't dark enough. Each time he brought up a concern I addressed it, ditched a ring, shaved those exy burns, and wore black shoes, but that had apparently been enough to raise concerns about a pattern of disobedience. Pretty ridiculous. Instead I ended working for a test prep company that let me set my own hours and paid me ludicrous money for an undergrad. Glad it happened. Are you/were you Mormon? At this point, the only people who would say the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, TM, is definitely a member. For context, a BHT stands for Behavioral Health Technician. You know those people in the movies that wear white and hold overly dramatic crazy people down while a nurse gives them a shot. That's what a BHT is, but with a, usually, more boring job. One of the BHTs in my hospital psych ward got fired for defending himself against a violent and aggressive patient. Can't give much detail because HIPAA, but this BHT had no choice but to cross the patient's arms and hold him down in bed. One of the clinical managers heard about it and fired him because the patient could have been strangled. It was baffling because he used a method that was taught to him by the hospital. He used a safe technique to hold the patient down. Apparently he still shouldn't have done that, even if it's the hospital's freaking protocol. We all had our sympathy for him. I mean, what else was he supposed to do? Let the patient brutally assault him? If he'd let the guy assault him, they would have said, "You should have used the method we taught you," and then wouldn't have helped him with the medical bills. Airline pilot now, but was fired from a tire shop for being too slow. I tried my best, but those other guys were so damn fast. I could never keep up. Nice. I want to be an airline pilot one day. Get fired from a tire shop then. Ducking, like and subscribe.